This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for June 9, 2023. And in the news this afternoon, Manchester councillors say blocked drains affecting several areas. Mayor of Mandeville Donovan Mitchell says the allocation of $1 million for each constituency towards drain cleaning is woefully inadequate. My problem, though, is that I have seen major drains that will take 10 times the $1 million to clean. There is a particular drain in my division that right now you will need a backhoe to clean that drain, and it is now flooding people's farms and houses. I don't know how they allocate funds, Mitchell said at Thursday's monthly meeting of the local municipality. He said letters were sent to the office of the Prime Minister outlining concerns regarding drain cleaning. The minister with responsibility for works has made it clear that he doesn't have conversations with councillors, and I am a councillor. We have written to his office and the Prime Minister's office asking for the dialogue. We have still not gotten a response, said Mitchell. He said blocked drains resulted in damage to private property during persistent rain on Wednesday. Water from one of the drains, which the National Works Agency has responsibility, the mayor said, was so much that it was blocked in a particular area and removed an entire 20-foot wall. Councillor Dalton Brown of the People's National Party Alligator Pond Division called on the NWA to address blocked drains in South Manchester. The problem I am having is that while we maintain and clean the majority of our parish council drains, the drains that are to be maintained by the NWA, none of those have been cleared. In the lower section of the division, Sea Air, New Forest, Dove House, and Alligator Pond, the roads had water because those drains were not cleaned, and that is a harsh reality that we face now, he said. The situation there is a bit grim in terms of where the main roads are. Even Wednesday, there was a severe silt build-up in Dove House on the NWA road, so we need some urgent attention, he added. Councillor Iceville Cherry Brown of the Jamaica Labour Party, Grovetown Division, agreed with Mayor Mitchell that the allocation for drain cleaning is inadequate. In South Manchester, coming into Mandeville is like a riverbed at certain sections. $1 million cannot do the job, he said. Councillor Claudia Morant Baker of the JLP Porous Division also raised the concerns about blocked drains, some of which she claimed have caved in. Everybody's water comes down to us in Porous. The drains, especially the NWA drains, have caved in and the water floods private property. The ones at Whitney Turn are totally caved in, so attention needs to be brought to those drains. These are massive drains that run into people's yards or between houses, she said. In the meantime, Acting Disaster Coordinator for Manchester, Kevin Lewis, told the councillors that the municipality is actively preparing for the Atlantic hurricane season with 75 recommended shelters, and the managers consulted regularly. Homes and a fire station flooded in St. Elizabeth. Heavy and persistent rains between Wednesday and Thursday resulted in several homes being inundated as residents in southern St. Elizabeth communities were left with flood damage. Where you see happening, yes, I know the first. Our we experienced about 4 times now, and there is nothing at all that can be done right now until water dries up, and then we clean it back up, said a resident of Duncan District in Bull Savannah. Councillor Leighton Smith of the People's National Party Marysville Division told the news that in the neighboring Junction Division, at least 2 communities were affected by flooding. Comapen and Bull Savannah mash up with flooding. The flooding in Comapen is because of the construction works being done on the road. About 10 families in Bull Savannah were flooded out totally, and some in Ballards Valley, he said. Firefighters at the Junction Fire Station had to move the facility's fire truck from the garage of the station due to flooding there. When contacted for an update on relief efforts to assist affected families, Mayor of Black River Derek Sangster said he was awaiting details. I understand that there was some amount of flooding in the southern section, but we have not gotten any official report as yet. I don't think we have reached any proportion yet of a disaster, but the rains are impacting communities quite heavily, especially on the south side, he said. When asked about the preparations for the Atlantic hurricane season, Sangster said preparations are up to scratch. The shelters have been examined, passed, and the shelter managers are in place. The respective agencies had meetings some time ago, and everybody is on the ready to connect with equipment operators in the case of an emergency. Basically, we are up to speed, said Sangster. We have the equipment for the shelter managers in stock in case of any eventuality, he added. Land slippage is normally in the northern section of the parish. We have several flood-prone areas like Middle Quarters, Parati, Vineyard, and the Breeze River. On the southern side, flooding does take place in terms of water running and creating some amount of damage, he said. When asked if there is any concern about flooding in Newmarket, Sangster was hopeful that the two sister ponds wouldn't merge. I am not sure if the level of rainfall so far has been sufficient to trigger that scenario compared to occasions that has happened in the past, and this time I am not sure. No evidence has shown itself yet in terms of that happening, so at the moment it is not something on our radar, he said. Labour Minister headed to Canada for first-hand look at the farm workers' conditions. Labour Minister Pernell Charles Jr. is to head to Canada for his first-hand look at the working conditions of Jamaican farm workers. Jamaican farm workers have complained that they are being made to live and work under substandard conditions. Mr. Charles said he will be meeting with Canadian officials overseeing the program.
The intention is to meet with them as soon as possible, and so we should be sitting down very soon. I've had an informal discussion with one already, but I don't want to go into the details of that because we need to have a formal sit down with the High Commissioner and just the scope of what we will do in terms of expanding the exploration and observation across more farms so that we get a wider scope and understanding of some of the issues that might not have been captured in the fact-finding mission. And importantly, I tell you this, there are always many sides to these issues, and so my goal is to try and simply listen to as many sides as possible so that we can take steps that are sensible.
Agriculture Ministry assessing farm losses amid flooding in St. Elizabeth and Manchester. Preliminary reports indicate that at least 20 farmers in St. Elizabeth and South Manchester suffered significant crop losses due to flooding following heavy rainfall in both the parishes on Tuesday. 12 of the farmers lost all their produce. Several communities in St. Elizabeth and Manchester have been experiencing sustained rainfall, which affected crops such as melons, tomatoes, and escallion. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green said teams from the Rural Agricultural Development Authority have been dispatched to conduct assessments of the damage.
But as you can understand, the assessment is still early, still ongoing. Unfortunately, the system is still impacting the weather, so we are still having rains in the area, but we wanted the team to get out as early as possible to start the assessment. I do expect that I will get a full report from the teams come Monday, and the farmers know that once there are these sort of challenges and difficulty, that the Ministry of Agriculture through RADA will respond in the quickest possible time frame to get them back on their feet. So we have already started to see how we can mobilize seeds, how we can mobilize grass for mulching. We have seen that there may be some loss in terms of drip hoses, and we're going to see how we can mobilize some drip hoses so we can get our farmers back up and running. Clearly, depending on the extent, we will see if we need additional support. But this is just the start of our hurricane season. So, we're bearing that in mind, but the farmers can rest assured that we will help them as soon as possible.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.